Hey, Ace and Beaky here, and I just wanted to chat with y'all a little bit about what I think about the whole term Trump Derangement Syndrome. Now, this is kind of old news. The dust has settled, but maybe it's kind of like a review thing. Maybe I can see one thing about it that I wouldn't have seen a while ago and whenever I threw in my 2 cents in the heat of the moment. And that is that a lot of people on the right talk about Trump Derangement Syndrome as in they are talking about how the liberal left has flipped out about Donald Trump and that they can't stop flipping out, and they're just like, they're in conniptions over Donald Trump, and they're like a bunch of chickens that saw a snake near the coop. I think the thing is that this is where I'm going to agree with them 3/4 of the way, but I'm also going to talk about how there's another side of Trump Derangement Syndrome that the right is sometimes guilty of. It's a smaller, more shrinking, but also more radicalizing part of the right. But the thing is that the part of Trump Derangement Syndrome that the left is guilty of is that every single thing they do makes them lose their shit. Now, I think all presidents have this effect on the people who didn't vote for them. Whenever there's the election, we get all tribalistic and we get all crazy, and our guy's Jesus and the other guy's the Antichrist, the other guy's Hitler. So the thing is that we kind of get caught up in all that stuff, and at the end of the day, a lot of them are really retarded, and a lot of them are going to be corrupt because they're beholden to people. And even though on the outside, on the surface level, it may make much difference between a Republican or a Democrat, the stuff that I'm worried about, that I think long term will screw us up, that tends to stay the same whether we have a Republican or a Democrat. The corporate welfare, the encroaching police state, the never-ending war, the loss of rights and freedoms. It's just that one side chisels away at one side of it and the other side chisels away at the other side of it. And they both actually chisel away at the stuff that they claim to care for, because I don't think that the president is really in charge. I mean, he wasn't meant to be in charge as much as people give him credit for, but as somebody once predicted that Donald Trump is going to lose a lot of his support from his fan base as things go down. Well, it's kind of like paralleled what happened with Obama. I think the thing is that a lot of people who voted for Trump aren't happy with him, but the ones who are and who are fanatical about Trump are screaming at the top of their lungs. And that's the other side of Trump Derangement Syndrome. The left wing of Trump Derangement Syndrome is that they are literally like flipping their shit about everything he does. And don't get me wrong, he's an asshole, and there's Republicans who don't like Trump. But these liberals, they have taken it personal. And the thing is that I'm thinking, now that I look at it from my point of view, Trump did disappoint me. He didn't drain the swamp. Some of the things he didn't keep his promises. And, and he went back on his thing about pulling us out of the Middle East, but then so did Obama and so did Bush. So that shows that it's one of those things that the real people in charge are going to have their way, and that the president is just a puppet. But it's, at the same time, it's like, but here's the deal. I think with me and people who reasonably don't like Trump are kind of like, I'm upset with what he actually did. He said he was going to do this. It would have really helped things out if he did that, and he didn't do it, or he screwed it up. And so it's like, yeah, TPP sounded like something he was going to do right, and then he kind of fucked it up. He said he was going to be less involved in conflicts in the Middle East, and then he wanted to kick it off with Syria. And ironically, the Democratic side of the news media took his side on the one thing that they should be hating. It's weird. A lot of the left-wingers hated Bush whenever he went to war. Now, in hindsight, I agree with them, but they were silent with Obama. Now the establishment media that's left-wing, the part of it that's left-wing, was praising Trump whenever he started firing Tomahawk missiles into Syria after he said he wouldn't. So this is getting wild, that the establishment media, the only thing that they're happy that Trump did was that he's going to war. So all those so-called liberals are just whores for whatever satanic people pretending to be whatever religion. The thing is that the left side of Trump Derangement Syndrome is that, and he does a lot of stuff that's wrong, but I think that the left is delusional because they're mad that Trump flipped off political correctness. They're mad that Trump hurt their feelings. Trump was going to be disobedient. He wasn't going to play by your rules of political correctness. That doesn't mean I think he's good, but that means that I don't think that's why I should hate him. I may dislike him for that, but I shouldn't hate him for that. Because if Trump and Obama and Hillary, if Hillary did get elected, if they did the same evil stuff, but Trump did it in a way that hurt your feelings, and if Hillary Clinton did it in a way that didn't hurt your feelings, that's kind of wrong on the left. The same reason why it was wrong on the left that they would flip their shit whenever George Bush went to war, but whenever Obama basically gave us 8 more years of Bush's foreign policy. And I'm not even saying it was all his fault, but it was his responsibility. That did happen under his administration. A lot of those people were quiet because they think that having a president who is black and liberal and who is politically correct is going to save them. So at the end of the day, and then what I had a problem with conservatives is that their side of Trump derangement syndrome is that they'll cheer him on no matter what. And I've even talked to Republicans who have called out, Trump derangement syndrome on the right. Not just Democrats, but Republicans. Trump derangement syndrome is where they start seeing that everything they start ignoring whenever he does make grievous mistakes. Not just from the left's point of view, not just from political correctness, but that they ignore his mistakes based on what they believe. Meaning, if Trump came out tomorrow and said to the Republicans, I'm all about abortions and I'm all about gay marriage, the Republicans would cheer him on. Because not all the Republicans, but the MAGA hat wearers, the Trump fanatics, they say yay Trump no matter what. And I'm not asking them to say, to be Democrats or anything. I'm saying that criticize Trump on the stuff that you're mad about. You said, that you wanted him to make things better for farmers and coal miners. Those jobs aren't coming back, but you cheer him on anyway. You say that, you were going to vote for Trump because he wasn't going to be in the Middle East as much. You support him anyway. So at this point, you thought you were being like alt-right and getting away from the neocon establishment. Like maybe you had a moment where you brushed shoulders with the Ron Paul types, but you went straight back. So I think that the part that's yay Trump no matter what, the right side of Trump derangement syndrome, they're shrinking, but they're in a pivotal place that can kind of still hurt people. And they're like that stubborn tooth that you're trying to pull out, but it's still got some of that tooth deep in the gum. So it's like it's all gone except this one really stubborn part that's stopping it from getting out. That's kind of the baby boomer gerontocracy. Because there's people who, whenever Trump does something wrong, not by the Democrat standards, but by your own standards, the evangelical community, I'm just like, I'm sorry guys, but Trump isn't the best for the evangelical community. And I'm not saying that because I'm some crazy SJW snowflake liberal who just cries because Donald Trump did this. I actually do get a little bit of entertainment from people just like flipping out like whenever Trump is around. Even if I agree with their criticism of him, it's kind of like, yeah, but it's still kind of funny to see them not like it. The very puritanical side of the left. But there are some people that I've met, left, right, and center, some ladies, some of them were Republicans, some of them were Democrat. One was my mom, and she used to be a staunch conservative, but she was able to call it like it was. Guys, Trump is a Republican Bill Clinton. A lot of things that happened bad with Bill Clinton, Trump is a Republican version of that. A lot of people voted for Trump for the wrong reasons. They wanted to project their narcissistic views through him, so they felt like they were living through him. So there are bad people who voted for Trump for the wrong reasons. There's a lot of people who voted for Trump because they were partisan or they were single-issue voter, or they genuinely thought he was going to keep some of his promises, and some even were thinking that, well, maybe Trump will make things worse, but they'll get better, which is some rhetoric I'm hearing some Democrats say about head sniffer Biden now, who may or may not have been a visitor on the Lolita Express with potentially Trump or Bill Clinton. But the thing is that the two sides of Trump derangement syndrome is the liberal left who are flipping out about stuff that he did. And believe me, there's stuff we can criticize him about, but they're flipping out. I think they're in denial. I think they're lying to us. They're flipping out because he hurt their feelings more than they're flipping out because he did something wrong. He's done things wrong, but they're flipping out because he hurt their feelings. Just like there were some Republicans who did the same with Obama. Although some Republicans hated Obama no matter what. You could say some of it's racism. I would say a lot of it was partisanship. And some Democrats started to realize that maybe Obama wasn't all that they thought. I hope some Republicans realize that if they hated Obama for doing the same stuff that Bush did, that they should retroactively denounce what they hated in Obama but approved of in Bush. But that's going off on another tangent all over the place. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents on how whenever it comes to presidents, they kind of show the hypocrisy of both sides. Because people will blindly love them or blindly hate them, which is never a good place to be. And they will do it for the wrong reasons. I do think that there's valid criticisms against Trump, but I think that the liberal left is really hating him because he hurt their feelings. And even if they had a valid argument against him, which some Republicans might even agree with, they kind of need to check themselves and check their political correctness privilege, that this is kind of nature's way of weaning them off of the new secular reincarnation of the Spanish Inquisition. You got to kind of let go of that regressive ultra political correctness where you're trying to cancel culture everybody who looks at you funny. You're trying to get everybody fired because they said something vaguely racist 10 years ago, and you got to stop moving the goalpost and where something was like racist now but it wasn't 5 minutes ago, so now you can get people in trouble for something that everybody's been saying for 20 years, but now you got them, we're gonna get rid of those Republicans, there's gonna be a bunch of feminists. You got to stop that. You got to stop that. It may not be authoritarian in a way that kills people, but it's Orwellian. It's Orwellian. You're not as bad as actual Nazis, but you're as stupid as actual Nazis. That's why they're called feminazis. It's not because they're feminists, it's because they're stupid. It's not because they're left-wing or even far left, it's because they're SJW. It's a specific mutation of it. The right-wing side of Trump Derangement Syndrome is that they protect Trump no matter what. They refuse to criticize him no matter what. They're in denial of some of the things that he did wrong by their morals, not by the left's morals, but by their morals. And they're in denial of the fact that he didn't keep his promises, and that maybe some people, even if they're not racist, they're narcissistic as hell, and that they're just trying to kind of keep Trump alive as a way to live their fantasies through him. I understand. After political correctness and cancel culture, you kind of did need to flip off the left. But the joke's over. Fun's over. It's time to wake up. And there's also one more thing about Trump Derangement Syndrome. And this is from a friend of mine who's more left of center than I am, who is very feminist, but she's a grounded feminist. And the thing is that she said that she realized that, according to her research, Biden may or may not be a pedophile or a rapist or somebody who went to Epstein Island or whatever. He might have some skeletons in his closet. And the thing is, he mentioned this to some other Democrats and ladies, and she was mentioning it, she's not a conservative, she's fairly left-wing, and she was mentioning that, well, just because I don't like Trump doesn't mean I have to automatically vote for Biden, because he might be a rapist too. He might be a pedophile too. And then whenever she brought it up, they immediately accused her of being a Trump supporter. So we've got to get past this polarization. And we've got to, not lose our heads over this shit. Anyway, that's Ace and Beaky. Over and out. Have a good one.